Hey, gang, and you will notice that I have my Hellfire Club lamp going on in back of me. Steve got me this, and I absolutely love it, but there were a few streams where I forgot to turn it on. So it is now lighting up in back of me. The fans of Stranger Things will know exactly what the Hellfire Club refers to, and fans of Eddie Munson on the show will definitely know what that refers to. But um, this was a rescheduled watch along for Wes Craven's New Nightmare because the week I was going to do it, I had went to visit my mother-in-law with Steve, and we got caught in a major traffic jam on the way back, and both of us were wiped out when we got back home. Also, for those of you that may have noticed, there was no Friday Foolish yesterday and no pre-recorded Terror Time Tea. You can blame CrowdStrike for all of that because CrowdStrike basically crapped all over everybody yesterday. It caused major problems. It's a piece of software. It's an antivirus software. They pushed an update through either on Thursday afternoon or really early Friday morning, and it basically caused blue screens everywhere. One little file, one little CrowdStrike file caused all that havoc. So I started my day at 7:30 Eastern time and did not get to clock out until almost 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time yesterday. When normally I work half a day on Fridays, and they tried to make me work this weekend till from like 8 to 3 Saturday and Sunday, and I was like, "You guys dropped this in my lap today." I said, I've already got plans for the whole weekend. I can't get out of them. And my boss told me, you're okay. So I was like, great, because I wasn't going to work it. Hey, Batman. Um, so that is why there was no Friday Foolish and no Terror Time Tea, because I simply didn't have time to do it. And so hopefully me and Candace can get together at 1 Eastern time tomorrow to do a Sunday silly instead of a Friday foolish. And I've got the new thumbnail up and all that. Also, I want to remind everybody that you can get shirts like this, like the one I've got on, at the deaditesondeck.com horror shop at deaditesondeck.com. And you can get a Robert Englund Scooby-Doo horror mashup. You can get a Kane Hodder one. You can get Vincent Price. You can get Stephen King. Um, there's a whole ton of them. Just visit deaditesondeck.com and you'll be able to see all of those. Plus, I do custom work. In fact, I can show you one of the custom shirts I did recently. This custom shirt is a gift for one of my coworkers. This is a Scooby Doo mashup with Pikachu because she's a big Pokemon fan. So I basically can do just about anybody that you would want, including yourself or family members. It can be like you met Scooby and the gang on the cartoon. So, if you want yourself or family members in that little flashlight circle, you'll, of course, have to send me a picture. So, you got to feel comfortable enough sending me a picture. And hopefully, you will trust that I won't mess it up or anything like that, or put mustaches on all y'all's faces or something like that. No, I wouldn't really do that. But I did want to remind you that I do have a Discord. It's free to join. In fact, I can put that link for the Discord in there for you. Chris is going to say, good Lord, because he's watching from backstage for me to add him. He's probably going to say, Dana, come on, let's get this show on the road with this watch on. So the Discord is free to join. All you got to do is click on that link, accept the invite, and you're ready, or create your account and you're ready to start chatting in there. There's a lot of different channels that you can go into. You can introduce yourself on the general one. You can go into the one about books and talk about your favorite books. And there's one for movies, there's one for music, there's one that talks about boutique labels, new releases. If you want to share with anybody some new releases that you saw come out or new releases you've gotten in that you think are great, you can do all that on the Discord. I also have a Patreon that has 3 tiers. The highest tier is $25 a month. And if you take that one, or if you pay for that one, you do get your choice of an official Deadites on Deck t-shirt, hat, or mouse pad. So I'm also going to put that link in the chat for you guys and gals. So there's a $5, a $10, and a $25 tier for the Deadites on Deck Patreon. And of course, you can visit deaditesondeck.com for all your horror memorabilia needs. Oops, I can't spell today. So sharing is caring, right, guys and gals? I'm just sharing a bunch of links there in case you guys and gals are interested in any of that. And so, since Chris has been waiting so patiently, I'm going to go ahead and add him.
Hey, Dana.
What shirt you got on today? I see.
It's a Cobra Kai shirt.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I got this about a week or two ago, I think, at Goodwill, and I was like, oh, good, just in time for the new season. And yeah, the new season started on, was it Thursday? Yeah, the 18th. And I've already watched the first 5 episodes. That's all that they've released so far.
Right.
And this is the last season, and I know they're doing like in the 3 parts, I believe. So the first 5 are out right now, and then I think the next set of episodes will be out sometime later this year, and then they're going to end the series with the 3rd part in 2025. So
cool. And that shirt looks like it's brand new. It looks like
it does, right? And I had never seen this design before.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I like how it has, it says 1984 up the top there. And yeah, when I got it, a lot of that stuff, sometimes in our Goodwill at least, we'll go in there and they'll have a lot of stuff like that is brand new on their racks. It still has tags. Like somebody must have had like a bulk order of these Bart Simpson t-shirts because they had the same t-shirt in there, like in all different sizes with tags and everything. I was like, wow, somebody must have just found a box of those or something and just dropped them off at Goodwill. I don't know. But yeah, it's a nice shirt though. It feels really good too.
And you were able to find your size too. That's
yeah, that's rare. Sometimes
can't find your size or can't find your exact size. I know I run into that.
Yeah, for stuff that I like, particularly with like stuff like this on the shirts, like I'll see a lot of stuff that I like in Goodwill, like, but it'll be like a medium or a large or something. Or I wear a 2X. I'm a bigger person, so I have to wear a larger size.
You're a tall guy too, so
yeah.
Sometimes, guys and gals, it's not that you're big this way. You're tall, and you can't get any of these shirts because it just doesn't look right.
Or if you're like me, you're both. You're big this way and you're big
Oh,
this way.
Chris, no, you're not. But I have seen you in person several times. And I know you're a tall guy, so that makes a difference. Um, so, what we're going to be doing the watch along for tonight is Wes Craven's New Nightmare, or just New Nightmare. Some people refer to it as that, but out of respect for the memory of Wes Craven, I try to say Wes Craven's New Nightmare because this was basically his creation and his final, I guess, goodbye to the series
Mhm.
that he created. And I feel like he ended, he bookended it. And then sadly, Wes Craven's no longer with us, so he's not making any Nightmare on Elm Street movies or any other movies now, sadly, because I feel like Wes Craven was one of those, he was a great horror director, but I could see him doing other things just because he was a great director in general. I felt like. Chris, did you feel that way about Wes Craven?
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, like, he was a great horror director. Um, but just like you said, overall, like just as a director in general, filmmaker in general, he was wonderful.
Mhm.
Hey, oh, okay. Candace is here with pizza. Um, no, I think the table's not in here anymore. Anyway, yeah, Candace just brought me some pizza. She got some of those new they're frozen pizzas from Walmart with their Deadpool and Wolverine
Oh,
pizza.
cool.
And I think the one that she made tonight is like the chimichanga pizza.
Oh,
Um,
that sounds good.
but I think the name of it is like Chimmy Pool or something like that. Um, yeah, so I'm excited to see.
I'm curious to know what they taste like, if they taste
Yeah,
all
well, I'm about to find out here in a minute. So, yeah, I'm really excited about that movie too. By the way, not to get off topic or anything, but Deadpool
Oh, no, that's
Wolverine.
fine. Me and Steve are gonna go see it next weekend, I think.
Yeah, I think I am too. Uh, I think Candace will probably go as well, but she'll probably like uh, go take the boys to
Mm,
watch something else uh, while I'm watching Deadpool and Wolverine because, well, one, Candace is not really into those types of films, and two, like it's not. I don't think it's going to be very appropriate for the boys.
no, I've seen just the trailer for it.
Well, if you've seen the previous Deadpool films, then you kind of know
Mm,
what to expect.
yeah, and I love all the Deadpool films. I absolutely love all of them. Steve took me to see, I can't remember which one it was now, but it was one that came out on Valentine's Day. And me and Steve actually went to the movies.
I think
And
that was Deadpool 2.
was that the second one? Because they gave me a rose at the movie theater. There was a
Oh,
guy
really?
handing out roses to all the ladies that came into the movie theater that
That's
day.
nice.
So I got roses from Steve, and then I got an extra rose at the movie theater. So
Mm.
that
Yeah.
was memorable.
But what I was saying though, before that was with Wes Craven, I just like to think overall as a filmmaker in general, he was incredible, and he just more than just a filmmaker. He was close with the people he worked with, and he wasn't. You never hear anybody say that. Oh, Wes Craven was a hard guy to make a film with. He was hard on everybody on set. No, I always heard that he was super cool. He was friendly with everyone. He was always willing to help out other filmmakers as well. Much like Kevin Smith, is they kind of switched up because if you remember in Scream 3, Wes
Mhm.
Craven's Scream 3, Jay and Silent Bob are both in that film.
Yeah.
And then in the film Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, which is Kevin Smith's film, uh,
I didn't know if Candace seen me. I was trying to wave to her.
Oh, hey, Dana.
yeah,
She's got it real little. I can't hardly see.
sorry.
Yeah.
Um, but I say, but in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, Wes Craven makes a cameo in that, when he's making like a screen film. And then I don't know if you've ever seen Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, Dana, but like
I've seen some of them because my cousin Jed used to bring those movies over all the time.
it's in that cameo in the film that he has where he's like making a screen film within Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, and Shannon Doherty is actually in that part. Like she's in this part of the screen film, and then like there's a character in Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back that's an orangutan named Suzanne. And so when they pull the ghost face mask off, it's the orangutan. And Shannon Doherty's like, Wes, I can't work like this. And Wes Craven's he's like, people love monkeys or something like that. So it's really funny.
Chris, I'll just
Yeah.
tell you real quick. Yours is the chimichanga.
Yeah, I see that.
But I gave you a piece of the
the pineapple and the olives.
Yeah, that's kind of like a white special or something.
All right, yeah,
yours is really hot.
Yeah,
so what do you want to drink? Because I've already took about it.
Cherry.
Okay.
But yeah, we got 2 of those pizzas though, the Deadpool Wolverine pizzas. I got the chimichanga one, and the other one's called like Wade Pool or something, and it's got pineapples and black olives on it.
That'd probably be pretty good. I don't think I've ever had a pineapple in all of the pizza, but I wouldn't be against trying it or anything. Batman says, I bet if he'd seen that shitty remake, he'd be like, there's no way recovering from that piece of shit.
Oh, are you talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fond of it, bud. I'll tell you. It's not one that I really ever have any interest in watching again.
No, I don't either. I went to the movies and saw that, and I was sorry I ever did pay money.
Which is funny that we bring that up because I was going through like all my subscriptions last night on my YouTube account, and I was trying to go through and see like all the people that I've kind of forgotten about in the past that I have subscribed to, I haven't watched in a while. And I seen, I don't know if you probably remember him, Rick Fusselman.
Rick.
Rick, and he went by Rick of the Dead when he was on like message boards and stuff in the past. Well, he has an old channel on there that I had subscribed to, which is just called Rick of the Dead, and I don't think he's uploaded anything in like 13 years.
Wow.
But when I highlighted his channel, one of the first videos that popped up on there was his review of the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And I haven't watched it yet, but knowing how Rick is, I'm sure he didn't care for it either.
Yeah. Rick, I think Rick's a family man now, and he's got a comic. And is it a comic and like toy shop?
It's just a toy. It's a toy show,
toy shop.
Which I think it kind of started out as both like toys and comics and stuff, but now it's just called it's just a toy show. It's called Toy How.
That's
so
right.
It takes place in somewhere in Ohio. I can't remember. It's around close to where he lives. But he's done several of those now. I've never got to go out to one of those because but I've seen photos and stuff from past shows that he's done, and they look like they always get a huge crowd. And like every vendor they have there are toy vendors, mostly like vintage toys and stuff. That's the kind of stuff I like anyway. Me and Candace both. And
do you know? Speaking of Rick, when you mentioned Rick, it reminded me. Did you ever watch that show Bar Rescue?
Yes.
Okay. Rick was on one of those episodes several years ago.
Really?
It was hilarious because Steve told me, he said, Rick Fusselman, he said, he's on an episode of Bar Rescue. I've got it recorded. And
wow, I got to look for that.
And Rick was, I think he had a Hawaiian shirt or something on. Like they were saying, how many people haven't been served their drinks yet? And Rick was going, or something like that, he was waving his debit card or credit card or his money or whatever around. I ain't got my drink yet. And I was like, that is so funny.
I have to look for that because that's hilarious.
I can't remember which episode it was. I'd have to ask Steve for sure to see if he remembers. But yeah, that was funny. Out of all the people we could have seen on Bar Rescue, Rick was on there. I love talking to Rick. Rick was not. I remembered Rick as being really nice and stuff, but
Mhm.
he always seemed sort of quiet whenever I talked to him. I'm guessing he wasn't like that all the time, but I remember him hanging around Tim Gross too,
Yeah.
quite a bit.
Well, he just might be one of those people that, like, when it comes to guys and stuff, he's kind of really open, but he don't want to offend any kind of anything when as far as women go. He don't want to say the wrong thing or like put them off anyway. Because I'm like that to an extent sometimes. I'm very open with a lot of my guy friends. We talk about crazy stuff and foolishness, and we can be vulgar with one another and everything. But
It's different
I,
when
I
women.
try not to be that way with women,
Mm,
because that's just how I was taught. I was raised up. I don't
right.
unless you're like super close with like Candace. Me and Candace be crack around, and sometimes I do that stuff with you too, and other women that I'm very close with. But it's like as far as like ones, if I haven't known them for very long or anything, I try to be polite and have
Right.
manners and stuff around them and all that.
Yeah, you were raised up right. That's the way my dad was raised, and that's the way him and my mom tried to raise my brother. You respect women
Yeah.
and all that. Candace, do you remember Rick being on that bar rescue? She says I think I remember that, Dana.
I I don't think I've seen that, so but I would love to see it though.
But I guess we'll go ahead and get started with the movie here in a second. Now I've got mine. I'm watching the Blu-ray from. This is kind of a real cheap set, but it's got all the movies on
Yeah.
Blu-ray in it. So I've got mine queued up to the New Line Cinema logo.
Yeah,
About
that's where I got mine at too. Man, that pizza is good, but it
is it good?
is spicy as can be. Yeah, it's got, I don't know if it's like jalapeno peppers or what kind of peppers it's on that, but dang. Whew, I wasn't expecting that to be that spicy.
Sometimes you don't expect you expect it to be a little bit spicy, but sometimes when you actually bite into it, it's like whoa, it's it's like some of the ramen and stuff that me and Steve have had. We've been really into ramen bowls lately, and if you don't know what ramen bowls are, look that up on YouTube. Um,
Oh yeah, I've seen them for
mhm.
sure. But here's like the chimichanga one.
Ooh.
It's it's got like peppers and like a couple different peppers. I think it's got like chicken and sausage or something on it. It's good though. I highly recommend them. They're just, you can get them at Walmart.
So, do you give them what would be your deadite rating on those?
Well, I would probably give it a 4 out of 5.
All right, so we'll flash that up there. Four deadites out of 5 on
Uh,
those pizzas.
Hannah says it's beef. Okay, so I thought it was chicken, but yeah, it's beef.
Okay. And she said very spicy. I like mine better.
I haven't tried it yet. I'm not a black olives guy, so I don't. I'll probably pick those off.
Yeah, Steve's not he doesn't like black olives or green olives. I'm the one that's addicted to
That's
olives.
Candace too. Candace is the same way.
I'll sit there and drink the dang juice out of the jar of the olives.
But yeah, I've got mine pulled up towards his New Line Cinema as well, and I just wanted to show something real quick, if that's okay, before we start.
Oh yeah, that's fine, Chris.
I got some stuff in the mail the other day, and I was like, oh, well, I haven't done a stream with Dana in a while. Next one I do, I'd like to show this stuff because one of these things I actually have already told you about, because I remember telling you about when they announced it. I went ahead and pre-ordered it. But I'll show that in a minute. The first thing I want to show that I got was my new trash figure from Return of the Living Dead.
Awesome. That's cool.
And that's the Super 7 reaction figures. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you can tell about anything about it very good, but like,
It
I
looks
mean,
cool, I
I
think.
love it. I love it, and they've only so far they've only made her and Tarman, and
Oh, I'd love to have a tar man.
this is the back. It's really cool. It looks like an old like
Mm.
vintage style like toy, like the back of a box or something, But yeah, they make. You can see right on there. It says they make trash, Tarman, and they have zombie suicide and zombie trash, which is the what you see on the original Return of the Living Dead poster.
Mm.
It shows like the two zombies there behind the tombstone. That's supposed to be like zombie trash and zombie suicide, apparently.
Batman's wanting to know, where did you get that at, Chris?
I ordered this. You can get a few different places. You can go to the super7.com website to get it. I got mine from bigbadtoystore.com, which I order a lot of stuff through them. Because you can pre-order stuff on there and they won't charge you until it actually comes in stock.
Right.
So I prefer to do it that way. And also they have like options where like you for like $3 more you can choose the collector grade, and they will like go and personally like pick out one that looks really good. It doesn't have like any bends or any kind of like creases or anything like that. And they will like pack it really well for you when they ship it to you. I've ordered from Big Bad Toy Store for years, and I highly, highly recommend them to everybody that's like a toy collector, because they get about everything, and more than just toys too. And this next thing I want to show is I actually got from Big Bad Toy Store as well, and it's my new House on Haunted Hill record.
Wow, that looks
So
cool.
I can't remember what color it is. I know it's colored vinyl. I've
Mhm.
not opened it yet, but yeah, this is the Rob Zombie Presents
Uh-huh.
series that they started, and so this is House on Haunted Hill. They just announced the next in the series, which is up for pre-order now. I've already pre-ordered mine. It's the Rob Zombie Presents Last Man on Earth vinyl record, and these were made by Waxwork Records, so you could probably find it on their website too if you prefer to order from there. But yeah,
Speaking though of Return of the Living Dead, Chris, did you see my my high top sneakers that I
I
got? That
did. Where did you get those?
um gosh, let me see if I can find that that place again. It's a place in China, I will tell you. So it takes 2 or 3 weeks to get them.
Oh, I know about all that because I ordered from eBay once these Game Boy Colors,
Uh-huh.
and I got them on there for like 20 or $25 a piece. I was like, wow, that's great. I was like, but it shows they're coming from China. And
Right.
Candace was like kind of you know, what's the word I'm looking for? She was skeptical. She was skeptical about like me even getting them, or if when I got them, they were going to be like, really cheap. Made got them, and they were just like regular Game Boy Colors. It took up almost 2 months for me to get them. Though was the thing, but they
Yeah,
were
I
great.
didn't have to wait that long, but 2 or 3 weeks at least. Man, now I can find those sneakers, but not from that place that I got them. Hold on here.
Yeah, I seen those that you got those. Those are really cool. I like those.
And I'm planning on wearing them. I'm planning on wearing them to Horror Hound in September. And Steve said, you better go ahead and wear them and break them in.
Yeah.
Um, daggone it.
Speaking of though conventions, I seen that they just added some Children of the Corn guests to Scarefest.
Oh, oh, did they?
Yeah, which typically the ones that they add for a lot of shows that get Children of the Corn guests is John Franklin and Courtney Gaines.
Right.
Which they got them, they did get them, but the third Children of the Corn guest they got, which is also from Return of the Living Dead, John Philbin. And he's one of the very few like people from Return of the Living Dead that I've not met yet. So
Mhm.
I'll probably meet him and get him added to my Return of the Living Dead poster.
Okay, that's cool. And you're right though. Usually they do get Courtney Gaines and John Franklin. I mean, usually they're the main ones that they get. I would really like to meet Courtney Gaines and John Franklin too. I've never met Courtney Gaines. You've met him before, haven't you?
I've met him a couple different times. He's really nice, really cool. John Franklin he's okay. He's not like overly nice or anything,
Uh,
or super talkative, but like he's kind of reserved acting, if you know what I mean.
gotcha.
But yeah, I mean overall he's all right.
But on those sneakers, Chris, I'll try to figure out if I can find out where I ordered them from, and I'll either
Okay.
send you the link or Candace the link
Yeah,
to share with
I
you.
guess we better go ahead and get into this movie before everybody runs off.
So yeah, we'll go ahead and do the countdown, and then we'll get this movie started. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play.
Better turn the volume down on mine. There we go.
Well, I wouldn't worry about it too much unless they not give me a copyright strike, but they might say, "Hey, there's some Nightmare on Elm Street music in there." I kind of like how this opens because it's reminiscent of the original Nightmare on Elm Street where Freddy's making the glove.
Yeah. Well, mine keeps freezing on me for some reason.
Uh-oh.
That's all right. I just watched this movie again not too long ago, actually. So even if I'm a little bit behind, it's fine. Because I know everything that's going on in it. But yeah, you're right. Like the opening scene is very reminiscent of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, of how it opens, where he's creating the glove, and
I think Batman likes that too. He agrees with us. Hey, there's Wes.
which it's really cool too, because in this movie, Heather Langenkamp's husband is like this special effects guy on films, and from what I understand, her real life husband does that same thing.
Yes, he does. Something I did not know about Heather Langenkamp until I watched that Hollywood Dreams and Nightmares about Robert Englund
Mm-hmm.
is that she had a son that died of cancer. And I had no idea. And she said that Robert Englund really helped her get through that because he would call her and check up on her.
Yeah, I don't know what my thing is doing here, but that's okay.
Well, I've had mine do that too.
Oh yeah,
My player back here, it'll go all the way back to the beginning and do some crazy stuff. Batman, you say, I once had to explain this movie to a childhood friend because he didn't get the premise of it. Well, if he was outside of I don't want to say outside of our little club or whatever, but if he's not a regular watcher of
like a
movies,
casual viewer.
yeah, if he's a more casual viewer, he might not get it.
If you don't care me asking, what are you at right now? Like what?
The glove is just went into that guy's throat, and now it's running across.
Do you know? Do you have a timestamp? Like
let me see here, 3 minutes and 42 seconds, or
okay,
44 seconds now. But
okay, I'm all right. I got it all sorted out now. I think. I hope.
Maybe it won't freeze up on you again.
I don't know if you noticed in the scene, like on the tables and stuff in the background and stuff, when the claw is like going crazy and everything,
Uh-huh.
it shows all these like different masks and like prosthetics and stuff laying on the tables back there. I always thought like there's one like he's got some kind of like device on his head and his eyeballs are like bulged at his head.
This is a very bloody opening to a movie too.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the earthquake. But if I'm remembering right, Chris, isn't the earthquake kind of just at their house?
See, that's what I was getting ready to say. Like the way I've always interpreted that is that it's not really an earthquake.
It's
Kind of
Freddy.
it's a sign of Freddy coming into their real world.
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff didn't start happening to her and her family and all that till after that. So that's just the way I always interpreted that.
Yeah. That it was kind of Freddy punching a hole into their world.
Mm-hmm. And little Miko Hughes there, like he was this is I want to say this was maybe his like second horror film that he did. Because of course the first was Pet Cemetery. And so he was doing other stuff this time. He was working on Full House as a regular on there as one of Michelle's friends, and he was in Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he did anything else as far as horror related after this. I mean, I know that he did a fan film that came out last year. It was called Dylan's Nightmare or something, which is a follow-up to New Nightmare, and it's like a short film. It's about close to an hour long. You can find it on YouTube.
I had that. Have you seen that Unearthed and Untold, The Path to Pet Cemetery, Chris? Because
I've not watched it yet. I have it on one of my saved lists. That's something I wanted to mention too. Like when he's playing with his oatmeal there, he like forms like a face. It looks like Freddy's face.
Batman says he was in Spawn after.
Oh, that's right. He was in Spawn. I never really considered Spawn a horror film, though. I guess you could look at Spawn. It was just more of a comic book movie to me.
Mm-hmm. I just think there are certain points and times where Heather Langenkamp just looks absolutely beautiful, and this is one of them. She never looks ugly. She never looks unattractive, but sometimes she just looks super glamorous.
Yeah, because when this came out, it was 10 years after the original Nightmare on Elm Street, and which when the original came out, she was probably like either I'm not sure how old she was. She was either in her in 19 or in her early 20s, I want to say. Mm-hmm. But she really matured well. 10 years later, she's still very beautiful here. Just like she was very beautiful in the original as well.
Yeah.
And she still is to this day. I've met her a couple different times at conventions, and very nice, very friendly. I remember that when I first met her, at the time she was working on a documentary of her own called I Am Nancy.
I need to see that one. I haven't seen that one yet.
And I have it, but I've still not watched it. There's a possibility I'm in that somewhere, because I remember when I met her, it was at Friday Night Film Fest, and she was promoting it, and I had brought a poster for her to sign up, Dream Warriors, and she was just really super impressed with it, and she was taking pictures of it with her own phone and all that. And she was like, "You sure you want me to sign this?" She's like, "Look, it's beautiful." I said, "Well, it's already signed because it had already been signed by Robert Englund." She's like, "Are you sure you want me to sign?" I was like, "Yeah, I want you to sign it." So that poster might be in that documentary somewhere where she took a picture of it. I'm not sure. Like I said, I haven't.
Cool.
But I do have it. So the second time I met her, which was at a Days of the Dead convention, and I bought she had the documentary out by then out on DVDs and stuff, and she's selling them at her table, and I bought one, and then and I think I paid like $15 or $20 for it, and then she just went ahead and signed it too. She didn't charge me for the signature on the DVD, so. Yeah, super cool lady. And she's going to be at Horror Hound in
Yes, she is, and I'm thinking very seriously about going up to meet her too.
Well, I probably will again because just like I said, she's super, super nice. She takes her time with you and talks with you about stuff. And probably one of the best experiences I've ever had with celebrities, honestly.
Yeah, Batman. I heard that Andrew McCarthy is coming out with that documentary called Brats.
Yeah, it's actually out on Hulu now. Yeah.
I want to see that. I might see if Steve can get a copy of it for me to watch.
And that scene there, because it's showing the original Nightmare on Elm Street on that TV Dylan was watching, and she's like, "Why is this on?" and all this. And it just reminds me, like how me and you talked about this a while back, how Wes Craven and Sam Raimi kind of poked at each other. When, now I can't remember unless I've missed it of many times as I've watched New Nightmare, but there's no like Sam Raimi stuff in the background or anything in New Nightmare, is there?
Not that I can recall.
I don't think there is, but if there is, I could be wrong.
There are a lot of creepy moments in this film. Like there were creepy moments in the first one, but I'm thinking there's even more creepy moments in New Nightmare.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And Super Batman Nerd, yeah, exactly. I'm glad you said that in the chat because I was going to mention that when it happened, but I think I was talking about something else at the time. Those cracks in the wall represents Freddy's claws, and yeah, because there's 4 cracks that form along the wall like his claws. So
And there's going to be, because when I saw the babysitter, Julie, it made me think of, there's going to be a scene coming up that's very reminiscent of Tina's death in the original film. But I don't want to give it away in case,
yeah, I don't know. That's a little bit later in the film. What you're talking about? That's when they're at I think at the hospital.
Mhm. Wouldn't it be cool to have a limousine pull up to your house and take you somewhere? I just like to ride in a limousine one time. I've never been in one.
You ever wonder if that was exaggerated for the film? Because I'm sure that she didn't actually in real life. She doesn't have limos pull up to her house and stuff.
Probably not. It probably was a little overblown, maybe just for Hollywood, anyway.
I'm sure there's probably some Hollywood actors that have limos come to their house and pick them up and stuff. But I think that what they were implying here with this is that because she was a celebrity, that happens to all celebrities.
Heather Langenkamp doesn't appear to be the kind of actress, though, that would say, "Well, I got to be picked up in a limo."
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. She doesn't give that vibe to where she would do something like that.
I like that house too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful house. And this is in California, so there's a lot of houses that look like that out in California. I was always impressed with Nico Hughes' acting ability.
Oh, even when he was just a little more than a baby on Pet Cemetery, that it was excellent.
Yeah, I was always very impressed. You know, such a someone could at that young of age could really show that kind of skill, and you know, I'm surprised that, like he kind of gave up acting pretty much. I mean, he's done a few things here and there, but like he didn't really pursue it like a lot of young actors do, like Corey Feldman or you know people like that.
Right.
Um, which I think if he would have pursued it more, he could have went further in his career than what he did.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but you know sometimes that you know it's just that's not what they're super interested in, and people get out of acting for personal reasons. Like Rick Moranis, you know, he got out of acting just to be a dad, you know, take care of his daughter and all that.
Hmm. She had enough of that guy talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I'm just going to call you D because I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I think you're new here, so welcome.
I want to say this, and I could be butchering this. If I am, I apologize. But I want to say it's Devontae,
That's
maybe.
what I thought, but I just was, you know, I
But
was
yeah, either way, welcome to the watch along.
I believe you pronounced it correctly, Chris.
This is always one of my favorite parts too. In New Nightmare is when she's on this talk show, and then you know we'll see Freddy come to the wall here in a minute. And then like he go and then it shows him he like runs up into the crowd and like people in the crowd dressed like Freddy and like he like slaps claws with a fan in the crowd.
And I'm sure Robert England has done things like that over the years.
Possibly, yeah. I've never seen anything where he was on talk shows or anything like that where he was as Freddy, but I'm sure there may be something out there. I've just not seen it. Um, and if you look in the crowd, there's some people wearing like these Freddy masks. It's like the old Freddy mask that they put out back in the day. Um, let me see. Well, they kind of show them here and there, but like, so that was like the original that one right there. If you see that,
Oh yeah.
so that was the original Freddy mask that they put out. And I seen that Trick or Treat Studios is actually re-releasing that now. They got like the molds and everything for it, so they're going to be releasing that vintage Freddy mask here soon.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that because it just kind of shows his.
And there's Robert England signing autographs for all these kids. It looks like a bunch of little kids.
Yes, that's what Warhound Weekend's gonna be like. It's like the whole big
Like
duck.
Robert England's going to be mobbed everywhere he goes. It's going to be like,
And that's isn't that crazy? Like that shows like how important he is to the genre.
yeah.
And because Robert England does, good Lord, he does so many conventions. And he's done them for like 30 years or more. And it doesn't matter how many he's done. Every single time he does a show, he will have one of the longest lines and the most people coming up to him more than anybody. And it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, and he just seems like the most friendly, the most gentlemanly man you could ever meet. I've seen footage of where and I would be like this too. If he kissed my hand, I'd melt into a puddle on the floor. And I seen him kiss this girl's hand. And she's like, oh my gosh, I love you. It's just like,
He
and
probably charges for that now. I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, it's gonna be extra $50.
Like,
And I'll
be
kiss
like, can I get a kiss on my hand? Be like, well, that'll be 200.
you.
I think this is where she goes and sees Bob Shay. I'm pretty sure, or is this when she's seeing Wes?
Oh well, there's Bob Shay.
Okay,
I know she does talk to
yeah,
Wes.
she talks to Wes too, but I was like, I think this is the one where she goes talks to Bob Shay. And speaking of Bob Shay, I love that part in like the bar in Nightmare 2 when Jesse
I
goes
do
up to the
too.
bar and the bartender is Bob Shay. He's got like all the leather and
And S&M.
chains and stuff.
I know, and I love the story they tell about they had to take Bob Shay to a place to get all that leather
Yeah.
and stuff. Uh, yes, Devontae, I believe that Robert England did do a lot of theater at
Yeah,
one time.
I'm pretty sure he did, and they just showed like that Freddy doll. You said you have one of those Freddy dolls, the
I
poster.
do somewhere. It's either here somewhere or it's at my mom and dad's house still.
But yeah, you're right, Devontae. He did do theater in New York, and I'm pretty sure like because where he did theater, um, he got interested in a lot of like productions and stuff that were based, theater productions. And I think that was one of the reasons why he wanted to do that Phantom of the Opera film that they did in the 80s, because I believe that was one of his favorites. And, you know, growing up and all that.
I just don't think he liked how they marketed that
Because they were marketing it like
Freddy
he was
Krueger movie.
ready. Like, yeah.
She's got the prettiest eyes too. I mean, she could have contacts in, but her eyes look really pretty.
No, I'm pretty sure unless she was wearing contacts when I met her too, because those are
Her
her
eyes
eyes.
look like that when you met her.
Yeah. Yeah. They're- Off topic a little bit, but I don't know if Candace told you yet, but we got our car back today.
Well, I knew that y'all were in the process of getting it back, but you now have it back. That's awesome.
So the guy that I got working on it, he texted me and he's like, "Guess who's home?" And I was like, oh, "No way!" So I went because I didn't even hear him pull up. I walked out to the front of my house and I was like, "Oh, there's my car." So he had he had drove it back here for us because he just lives like right down below us here. So
Hey, Blissful.
hey, Blissful, how you doing?
I want that house, but I don't think I'd want it in California, mainly because of the earthquakes. I don't want to be anywhere where there's a lot of earthquakes.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's why they use the earthquake sequence in there.
Mhm.
Because of where that's a known thing in California. But like you said, if you interpret that the way I do, then that wasn't really an earthquake that was happening there.
Mm. Now, Migo Hughes is part of what makes this movie creepy because, as you can see right there, if anybody had the audio on where he was going, "Never sleep again,"
Yeah,
making that weird face.
and like I said, he's a really good actor.
Mhm.
It has like not just the way he performs the dialogue, but just like he's in that scene where he's doing the never sleep again thing. Like his facial features are creepy as well, and
Yeah, exactly. Ooh, you got your hair colored, Blissful. That's awesome. I need to get mine colored. I keep saying that, and I haven't went to the my hairdresser yet to do that. Maybe before September when I go to Horror Hound, I'll get my hair colored.
And you can see here in this scene, like Heather's starting to kind of think, because she thought she was going crazy or something because she had that dream and everything, and but now stuff is starting to happen with Dylan, and
Right.
she's starting am I losing my mind? Is this stuff really happening? And then there's a scene coming up here in a little bit with her husband when he's on his way home, and it kind of just further develops her way of thinking on that again. So yeah, I love. That's why this is probably one of my favorite nightmare films,
Mm-hmm.
because it's just the concept of it is awesome.
Bliss, will you say the dark blue would look amazing on me? I don't know if I want to go with a different color or I want to do the black again. I'm leaning more. I like the blues, but I'm leaning more towards a black. Now my hairdresser has a black that has almost like a blue tint to it, and I might have her do that again.
Or you could do like black with like blonde streaks on the edges or something.
Yeah.
Candace does that, and it looks really good on her.
Mm-hmm. I wish Steve kind of got a little more excited about me coloring my hair, but he just shakes his head and goes on anytime I color my
Well, maybe he's just jealous because he doesn't have hair. So
hair.
I
So
know, and I'm not meaning that in a slight towards him because I know how it is.
I
Well,
know, or I
there
wouldn't
you
be
go.
laughing about it. I know what you mean, Chris. But Steve don't get excited about anything. I love the man, but he don't get excited over anything. Um, Devontae, you say, I love the way they incorporated Rex in the struggle versus Freddy. Do you think they could have pulled off a dream fight sequence without it being too cheesy? I would have loved to seen it regardless.
Oh, with Rex, yeah. I mean,
I don't know
now
if
for
they could
me,
have or not, but I would have liked to seen it. I would have enjoyed it.
if it had more humor in it and stuff, maybe. But where they were trying to go with a serious tone for this film and more darker, I don't think it would have worked, honestly.
Now this is one of those books, the story that I think it's Hansel. Yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
Hansel
Hansel and Gretel.
and Gretel. That those pictures are demented in there, and
Well, yeah. If you look at a lot of the Hans Christian Adams and like the Brothers Grimm stuff, like
yeah,
the
that
original,
stuff is all dark.
the original drawings and stuff, yeah, are very, very dark. I
Bliss
apologize
says
for everybody for me eating while I'm talking. I know that's
that's
not.
okay. You go ahead. I eat and drink and everything else during these things. Blissful says Dana and I are still trying to figure out why Ninja Steve blinked twice that one time. I have no idea unless he was trying to signal to somebody. I'm being tortured over here. I got to blink twice.
He was using Morse code.
It's OS with his eyes. Yes, Batman. This is definitely foreshadowing of what's to come in the film.
Oh, in the book, yeah, it definitely is, and I didn't notice that until I was older because I seen this movie when this came out in '94,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw it several times throughout the years, and then it wasn't until I was probably in my late teens or early 20s I was watching it, and I kind of like put two and two together as far as like the Hansel and Gretel story and what happens in the end of this film.
That reminded me when they were under the covers and it was kind of like a tent. That reminded me of when I was a kid. My dad built me a gigantic wooden toy box. It was so large I could get inside it as a kid. And
Yeah, like a trunk, like a toy
yeah,
trunk. I had one of those as well.
I pushed all the what I would do because it was open, it didn't have a top on it. I would push all the toys to one side, and then I'd put a blanket over top of it like it was my tent, you
Like a
know?
fort or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And mom would bring me a bowl of popcorn, and I'd have popcorn and lemonade there, and I'd just play all kinds of games. And my cousin Heather would come over, and we both could get in there then. I mean, this is how gigantic this toy box was.
See, Noah and my nephews, Raiden and Henley, they like to do that stuff. They like building forts. They like pillows
Yeah.
and couch cushions and stuff like that. And they'll put a big sheet over it and just, I don't know. I think that's just like that's a thing that kids have done throughout generations after generation. And it's just, I don't know where it comes from, but it just it's something that's it's interested kids in doing that for years and years. I know I did that too when I was a kid.
Blissel says she loved blanket forts.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good blanket fort.
So Devontae says, so essentially the entity used to be took on the form of the witch and Hansel and Gretel. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could, look at it like that. And this scene, as a man, always really disturbed me.
Yeah, this is ooh.
And it's kind of painful to watch, as it would. I'm sure
Yeah.
it is for a lot of other guys.
It's like, Dylan, go back to bed. You're scaring the shit out of me, popping up every time, saying weird stuff.
And I don't think they show it, but like, so she's just informed of her husband's death, I think, over the phone. But I always wondered, like, so when she like wakes up, like she was dreaming that. But
Oh, I bet the cops show up. Don't the cops show up at the door?
something like that. I know that they don't show like his actual death or anything.
No.
But yeah, the cops are there. Yeah, so they inform her, and
Anytime the cops show up at that time of night or morning, it's never good.
So how did you interpret that, Dana? Did you think that what like it showed in that scene with the claw coming through the seat and everything towards him and clawing him up? Is that how he really died, or is that just something that was a part of her dream?
That's a good question, because in the other movies it seemed like people would get killed a certain way, like Tina in the original. Rod is watching her being killed, and he's watching the cuts happening and stuff. But it's like she's in a dream, and somebody was under the covers with them. Rod says that, so I'm guessing he was probably cut up like that.
Yeah, it's just a bit different because like in the original film and everything, and in the other films, like that stuff can happen to victims, and as they're separated by two worlds.
Right.
But in this one, it's like, this is supposed to be based in reality because all of the cast members are playing themselves.
I
And
wonder, though, at this point earlier in the film, if Freddy hasn't completely crossed over, if he's somewhere in this mid realm.
well, I think that's what's happening. I think
Mhm.
there's just a process of him, coming into their world, and there's like just little bits and pieces here and there. It shows he's trying to push his way into, and then the more that happens, the more he's, establishing himself in their world.
Batman says the coroner, I believe, is Kenny, the cameraman in the first Scream movie.
Oh, what's his name? That guy? Because I think they just added him to Scarefest as well.
Devontae, I agree with you. Devontae says, I'm surprised they never used this claw design again. So unique and badass.
It is really cool. It is, which I can understand why they didn't, because this was supposed to be a different Freddy from anything else we've seen. And it wasn't supposed to be the same Freddy that existed in the movies. But yeah, that is the camera guy from Scream.
Yeah, when I was looking at him, I was like, yeah, that's Kenny. And she even asked, I think she even asked, how did that happen to him in a car accident? There's something about seeing somebody throw up on film, even though you know it's fake, that just bothers me. You can show me all the cut up people you want with their intestines hanging out and everything else, it doesn't bother me. But watching somebody vomit on film, fake or not, is just gross.
Yeah, I don't know. Stuff like that don't really bother me. I mean, there are some things that do bother me, like say for example in Zombie, Lucio Fulci's Zombie, like the whole the stake to the eye scene. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
And so anything like involving like stuff going in people's eyeballs and stuff, that bothers me.
And there was somebody that you would see from the original. That's the character of Rod Lane.
Either Nick Corey or
Corey or what's his real name? Yeah, that's it.
Which I'm pretty sure there were several people from the original that was in there. That was kind of, Amanda Wyeth is also in there somewhere too.
Yeah. Of course, Robert Englund was in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that blonde lady with the glasses that was at the funeral? Is that Sarah Risher? Is that like somebody that worked with Bob Shea at New Line?
Possibly.
Because it looked like her.
I know that scene right there where Freddie was pulling Dylan down into the coffin, and then pulls her husband. That creeped me out so bad as a kid. I mean, I remember having I had actual nightmares after watching this.
Oh, really?
Kid, because I was about 7 or 8 years old when this came out, and
Gosh, Chris, I feel old because I graduated from high school the year this came out.
so it was tough. It was tough for me, like and there's John Saxon.
Yep.
Sorry, Pedro.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure about that dude. So
I wasn't either. That's why I wasn't responding.
yeah, and he just kept saying stuff that didn't really make sense. So I was just like, okay. He said he didn't speak English, but he wrote that in English. So
Yeah, right.
Oh, okay. Blissful's giving me a little hint about who that was. I'm not even gonna
Okay.
acknowledge them, but uh, thank you, Blissful, for letting me know, though.
So Sister Backyard says this is what made him scared of cemeteries at first.
Mm,
I can understand why, because
that would be enough to make you scared of cemeteries.
yeah,
Devontae says, I love how they make this Freddy more cerebral, just picking apart Heather and Dylan mentally the whole movie. Yeah, and that's basically what he's
and
done.
that's really the only like the second time they ever. Oh, they did that kind of in Nightmare 2, as Freddy was kind of cerebral with Jesse,
Mm-hmm.
manipulating them and everything. Um, but as far as like involving Heather Langenkamp or the Nancy character or anything like that, yeah, this was he was a lot more cerebral in this.
Yeah. This movie's going by pretty fast, I think, because it's such a good movie. Now, if it was a boring movie, it'd probably,
That's how
Okay.
I've always, seen it, is that if you're really enjoying a movie and you're enjoying everything that's going on within the film, then, it's going to generally go by kind of fast. But if there's like stuff that's slow moving in films, like you're not really super, it feels like they drag out.
Mhm.
And I never got that with this film at all, because I really do love this movie.
Hey, Chris, did you see the the jump rope girls from the original Nightmare on Elm Street are going to be at Horror Hound?
I assume they were going to be there. And I did see that their dad, Tony Cecilia, he was
Yeah.
added, but I don't think I had seen the announcement for the girls. But once I seen that he was announced, I was like, then I said his daughters will probably be there as well.
And Leslie Hoffman, the hall monitor.
Yeah, I know that they got her. I was like, oh, because it's so odd, because me and you like talked about that not long before that announcement, and I was like, because I said something about her on one of your previous streams. I said, I don't know if she still does conventions like she used
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I remember.
And then like right after that, they announced,
Like, hey,
oh, awesome! I've never got to meet her, so I plan on meeting her as well.
she's doing photo ops too. I noticed.
They just added that guy, something, I think his last name is Clemens, from The Beast Within.
Oh my gosh, I ain't seen
Paul,
that yet.
Paul Clemens.
Paul Clemens. Oh my gosh, I want to meet that guy. I'm going to go broke.
Yeah, he's going to be there. Which was so odd, because usually on all of their guest announcements, they will have like a ton of people like flood the comments, like, oh man, look at this, or tag somebody or something like that.
Right.
It was hours had went by since they made his, and nobody had even commented on that announcement.
Really?
I was like, wow.
I love Paul Clemens.
Yeah, that movie's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Maybe there's too many newbies that don't
That's
know.
the thing. Like, I did talk to Nathan about that a while back, about how he comes up with his strategy to book Horror Hound. So majority of the attendance of the people that come to the show are nowadays more younger.
Mm-hmm.
So he tries to target them mostly. So he knows, like, that's why he's announced a lot of these different Scream guests, and like they're having like an Abigail reunion at this Horror Hound, and a few other like newer horror genre guests, and that's really smart, because you got to appeal to that audience, because you want those, because some of the older stuff, some of the younger guests might not be more in tune with it, I guess. But he throws that stuff in there too, for like the old school people that like us and stuff that come to those conventions as well.
That is a very smart strategy, and then Nathan's a smart
Oh
guy.
yeah,
He's a very
he is
smart
very much so. He really knows what he's doing, and to me, Horror Hound is one of the most well put on shows that there is.
And excuse me for using this word, but he's not a dick either. Some of these
Yeah,
promoters
yeah.
are a little bit.
They some of them can be. I won't name any
I'm not
names,
naming any names. I'm just saying.
but I know some.
Devontae, you say, what was both of your first reaction on seeing Freddie's first appearance in the cemetery? It shocked the crap out of me. You're like, okay, you know this is Freddie, but he looks crazy different. I got excited whenever I saw it. Because I was like, wow, we've never seen Freddie like this before. Does this mean he's gonna be able to do more stuff? Is he gonna be darker? Is he gonna be more dangerous and deadly and all that stuff? That was my reaction. Chris, what was
Yeah, well, like I gave mine. Like I said, that scene really creeped me out as a kid when I first seen this, and like I said, I had nightmares for a little bit after watching this when I was a kid. So, um, but Super Batman Nerd says, I believe this scene probably creeped out mothers when they saw this thing.
Oh,
It creeped out fathers too. I tell you, watching this scene as
out too, and I'm not a parent.
as you know, as a father, this scene right here gives me freaking anxiety. Because if you just you could imagine your own child doing what Dylan does here, it is like absolutely terrifying. Because kids don't have to have any kind of influence from some entity like Freddy Krueger to do these crazy things. Because I have been to the playground with my kid and not seen him do anything like that, but I have seen other kids like at the playground do like really like wild stuff and very risky stuff, and you're like, oh my god, I was like, they're going to kill themselves. So yeah, it's definitely anxiety inducing.
And it's just, I mean, it's so terrifying, the thought of any child, and if you are a parent, to think of your child, because any kids don't have any fear for the most part. They
Right.
don't. They will do anything. They'll climb trees. They'll climb playground equipment. They'll do whatever without thinking that they might.
Well, see, I learned real quick as a kid from doing stuff like that because I think we all did that stuff because we don't a lot of kids when you're real young you don't show any kind of fear until something bad happens, and then you're like, oh, you get that wake up call.
Yeah.
I would do that same thing. I would climb trees and climb
Well, I
hills and
did all kinds of stuff that I
things
should
like
have never
that.
done.
But I got hurt a few times from doing it, and I just learned. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that stuff anymore.
Yep. My dad told us one time, he said, don't go, we all knew not to mess around, over refrigerators, but dad also told us, don't mess around old air conditioners. He said, if you go poking around on them and you puncture it, that freon gas will come out of there and you could get really hurt. But what did me and my brother do? We went around old junkyards and stuff. Oh, wow, here's an old air conditioner. Let's, play with it. Thankfully, nothing ever happened to us.
That reminded you said something about refrigerators, and when I was a kid, I remember I got in trouble because I would run like our refrigerator when I was a kid used to have these big long like door handles on, and I would like run through the kitchen, and I would like grab onto that handle and swing and like launch myself into the next room. And I remember, and I would do that like all the time. And I remember I did that one day, and like it ripped the door handle off the refrigerator, and I just like boom right onto the floor and I got in pretty big trouble for doing that, and so I learned my lesson and didn't do that anymore once they got the handle fixed on the refrigerator.
I love to get back in the movie a little bit. I love these scenes of Robert Englund painting these.
Yeah, and then
And you
he's
see what he's actually been working on too here in a sec.
yeah, and I really enjoy this scene as well.
I'd love to have that pool. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I loved about Robert Englund's portrayal of himself in this
Mm-hmm.
is that, and I want to see what Chris thinks of this, if he felt the same way. The first time I watched this, I was never really sure, does Robert know what's going on? Does he know? Is he got part of Freddie inside him or something? Because did you notice some of the looks that Robert Englund gives throughout the film?
As he's painting
As
that,
he's
his,
painting,
his
especially.
eyes get wide and he's getting like he's excited or intrigued of like what he's creating here and where it's coming from, and he's not even sure. It's like something has like came over him to paint this as a sign of something.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to have that painting. I don't know what I'd do with it, but
Now the original painting would be awesome to have, that for sure. I know that you can get posters of that painting though online.
Batman did say same thing, running around the house with wet feet. I slid into the fridge and cut my chin. Ooh.
And this scene right here is, as I keep wanting to call her Nancy, but Heather, as she's tossing and turning in bed, like as it's doing that zoom in shot, that's very reminiscent to a shot in the original when it shows her laying in bed, and then you see Freddie like kind of protruding through the wall above her. It's the same kind of shot, so I always felt that was like a tribute to that scene in the original.
Devontae says, I think the underlying theme of the movie is that everyone feels guilty and responsible because they know they had a part in Freddie coming to life. That's a good point to make too.
I've never thought of it like that. But
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it
interesting
that
take.
way. Mm-hmm. Those are some seriously sharp blades.
And you wonder why that they didn't kind of take this concept and run with it with other franchises, like the Friday the 13th with Jason, coming into and then do the same thing with just have a bunch of different actors from all of the Friday the 13th series. You can have Adrian King in there. You can bring in Kane Hodder. You could bring all these different people in from all the different Amy Steele, and and they would all like Jason was like a real thing, so they all kind of came together to battle him. That would have been, I would love something like that.
Yeah, they could have done it with Michael Myers too.
Yeah, like any of those, like Michael Myers or Leatherface,
yeah.
Pinhead, and a lot of different stuff could do.
Oh, I want that kitchen so bad. I know I keep talking about her house in this, but the older you get, when you're a kid, you don't think about things like a house or anything like that. But as you get older and you have your own house and stuff like that, you start thinking about things more. This is creepy too, where he's doing the Freddy rhyme or Freddy song or whatever. And then
he has aluminum foil or something. Or no, he actually has knives. His knives.
He's got like steak knives. Devontae says, I agree. And then all the main characters get together to stop their individual villains as a whole. Now, that would be a very, very interesting concept. I don't know if at this point anybody'd be willing to bring that to life. It would be
Like
awesome.
kind of like an event, like Avengers meets horror movies.
Yeah.
That would be really interesting to see.
I'd be like, kid, I'm taking you to to see a counselor or something.
I've also always had this idea too, like they should make like a TV series or a streaming service series based off of like classic horror films like Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday, but not use those exact characters. Just be like the same premise and everything, but
Right.
the characters would be under different names and have different styles to them and all that. And just do that like kind of like as a tribute, to those films without being the same thing, but just being, a tribute to it.
Now, is it just me, or is this the portrayal of this doctor one of the bitchiest doctors ever?
Well, you notice all the doctors in the Nightmare films were always kind of
Yeah, they
attitudes.
were.
If you look at the I can't remember her name, but it was the main like female doctor in Dream Warriors.
Yeah, that was that Priscilla Pointer?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
she
he's
was
like I
bitchy.
absolutely hate like she's like one of the most hated, I think, characters in Dream Warriors
Oh, I would guarantee that.
because she was pretty much killing those kids. Like somebody says that in the movie, like you're killing us or something like that. I want
Mhm.
to say it was like maybe Kristen, Patricia Arquette's character, or somebody said that to her.
Yeah, I think she does say that. Yeah, Batman, I remember that now. He says Lynn Shay coming up as a nurse.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. Like I said, I just watched
I
this not
think
long
there
ago.
she is. Yeah. I could even tell that was Lynn Shay back there in the background when she was all blurry.
That's another lady that's very, very nice. We met her at Scarefest years ago, and yeah, I hoping to see her. I was hoping Horror Hound would get her.
Yeah, that would be
Maybe they will.
cool.
I didn't think they were going to get Leslie Hoffman, but they did. So who knows?
Ronnie Blakely's going to be there too.
Yeah.
Played the mom in the original.
Yeah, they've gotten several people. Now I went to a Horror Hound years ago. I don't remember what year it was. I want to say it was like 2019,
Hmm.
and they had this Scream reunion at it, and Joe Unger was there as he was a part of the first Scream film, but he's also in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm pretty sure, as well. So I think he's like one of the cops in the original Nightmare that works with John Saxon.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I was wondering if they were going to get him or if he's even able to do conventions, because when I saw him back in 2019 for that Scream reunion, he was pretty old at the time. So it might be one of those situations where he's not able to travel as much anymore or something, because I've not seen him do a convention since then, I don't think. But Lynn Shay would definitely be a good addition, I think, to that Nightmare on Elm Street reunion at Horror Hound. Even though she does have a very small part that's like less than a minute, I think, in the original film, but still, I think that's one of the more popular scenes from the
I
original.
think so too. Devontae said, this is kind of where it gets a little blurred for me. Rex is supposed to be Dylan's protector, but it looks like he's failed to keep him from getting hospitalized. Which I
Well,
wonder just how far Rex's reach is because he wants Rex, and Heather tells him, Rex is at home. So I'm wondering if that's why, because Rex isn't with him.
I've never looked at anything regarding Rex like that much, because I just seen it as being like Dylan's a kid, and they, that's what typical kids, they'll have like a toy or a plush animal that they use, like it's almost like a friend or imaginary friend or something that's protecting them, but there's nothing more to it than that. But the more, as Devontae's been saying, talking about that, it kind of makes me question that.
Right.
Is there more to that? As if he is Freddie easily coming into their world because Dylan doesn't have that protector there to keep him away. So
Right.
it's very interesting. I thank you for bringing that up, Devontae, because that's it makes me look at things differently within the film now.
I didn't ever really focus that much on Rex either, other than, like you said, a child's toy.
Mm-hmm.
A child having their favorite toy. I'm guessing they really did have earthquakes all over LA, but I'm wondering though if Freddie just didn't use that as a way to punch a
That's
hole.
that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking all this stuff, and that's why they kind of focus on that, because it isn't really earthquakes. I mean, it
Mhm.
is, but it's not like a natural earthquake.
Right.
It's something because something is coming into their world and is ripping that scene in two, and by doing that, it's causing all this chaos amongst the town and in the world in general. So, yeah. That's just how I've always seen it. I could be wrong with that.
Now here's where she's talking to Wes here.
Sorry, Dane. I'll be right back.
That's okay.
All right. I have to put Candace's phone on charge.
Oh, okay, yeah. Candace has got to keep her phone charged because I message her all hours of the night. That's why. No, she has to keep it charged for other reasons. Her mom might have to get a hold of her or something.
Oh, I know. I know you were just joking.
Wes has got some weird sculptures and stuff in his house.
Have you ever seen that movie? It's called The Fear, and there's a sequel to it called The Fear of Halloween Night.
Yes, yeah. I
Um,
think me and Steve watched. I don't know if we watched the second one, but we watched the original one.
Wes Craven has a acting role in the beginning of that
That's
first
right.
movie, The Fear, where
Mhm.
he plays a psychiatrist.
Yeah, I remember now. Yeah.
And what made me think of that is where you talk about how he had all these weird sculptures and stuff in his room there, and it's kind of like that in The Fear as well. When you go into his psychiatry office, and he's got all these like weird things like sitting around and stuff in there.
Devontae says, kind of like Dream Warriors, the third movie, I always looked at Rex as Dylan's dream power. That's interesting as well. Devontae's evidently a student of these films, it sounds like, which is a good thing. I like having that extra bit of information that people give or add to these watch alongs.
And that's an interesting take on that as well. Like, and you would think, like, if that were the case, like, at the end of the movie, not to give anything away from who's seen it, but I'm sorry, I have to mention it. Uh, when they're down in like the boiler room, like world of Freddy at the end of the film, it would that would be cool if that were the case. If that was like Dylan's dream power, if he had like, like you mentioned earlier, Devontae, about like Rex having that battle with Freddy, like there would be something like that they could like include in there with Rex when they were having that battle with Freddy at the end of this movie. But I don't know. It's just it's hard. It's fun how we all interpret our own like things and how the movie. But I wonder if that was ever just the slightest idea of any of the filmmakers, like or Wes Craven's head or when making the film. If that was intentional, or if that's just something as we as fans interpret.
Right. Something else too, if anybody has ever heard or seen interviews with Wes Craven when he talked about making this movie or the script writing process for this movie, that he was actually having nightmares
Yeah.
about Freddie and stuff. In real life, he was. And that's where he gets his ideas for scripts. I mean, he either gets them from nightmares or he gets them from articles. Like the original Nightmare on Elm Street came out of a series of articles in the LA Times about young men, primarily who were dying because of nightmares.
And also, as it just showed there in that last scene, it shows everything that Heather and Wes were just discussing. Everything that they said to one another was actually a part of the script that Wes was writing.
Mm-hmm.
So that part always made me believe is like all this stuff is happening because of Wes.
Yeah.
Because everything that he is writing is coming true.
Right. Sorry, guys and gals, I get quiet sometimes. I just find myself lapsing into the movie and I forget to say anything for a little bit.
That montage there too is really cool. That's one of that kind of like just pulls you in. You want to just kind of focus on what all's going on there because it's kind of bringing everything together for her in that moment of what's happening.
Batman says, "This is my first favorite scene of Freddy." I got a lot of favorite scenes of Freddy in this one.
Like just from this film, Super Batman Nerd, or just like overall of all the Nightmare?
Yeah, that's a good point to make.
Because as far as like an overall like favorite Nightmare scene, I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
I've got a lot of favorite, like in all the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I've got a lot of favorite scenes, favorite lines. He says of this movie.
Okay.
Devontae says it's wild too because it's that oh crap moment. They both knew they let Freddie get too strong at this point.
Yeah, that's very true. But from this scene or from this film, my favorite scene, it's probably the hospital scene with Julie.
That's a pretty riveting scene in more ways than one. That is a cool scene though, where he says "miss me" and he comes out of the closet.
Fair.
It looks like Freddy's got leather pants on. Where'd he get those leather pants? I guess I just didn't notice that before, but it looks like he's going to go to a nightclub or something, be dancing.
Maybe he stole it from Bob Shea in Nightmare 2. I always love the makeup on this Freddy in this one. It just like something about it, like the way they made that makeup for him, it makes Freddy look even creepier than what he already is.
Devontae says he does, LOL, Gothic Freddy. So I guess he does have leather pants on. I'm going to step away for a couple of minutes. I'm going to go to the restroom because you know me and my drinking habits and not alcohol drinking habits, but just drinking.
Your Mountain Dew habits.
Well, that and these energy drinks and stuff like that, they
Yeah.
both do the same thing. But I'll be right back.
All right. But yeah, this coming up, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, the scene coming up in Dylan's hospital room with Julie, and as a lot of you have probably seen this already, but Freddy comes in, and it's kind of that throwback tribute to the scene with Tina in the original Nightmare that Dana alluded to earlier. Yeah, that's probably my favorite scene in this whole film, just because that's one of the more popular scenes in all of the Nightmare films. Is Tina's death in the original. So I thought it was very fitting for them to pay tribute to that in this one with the babysitter Julie. Hey, Gory Tiger, what's up? Dana will be back in just a minute. She had to go to the restroom, so we're just sitting here watching New Nightmare. And like I said, I've seen this movie probably at least more than 50 times my whole life. That might not seem like a lot to some people. It's a lot for me when it comes to watching a single film. So yeah, I just watched this not long ago too, probably a couple months ago. So this is one that I've visited quite frequently. No, I did not know that, Super Batman. So Super Batman Nerd says Wes's daughter is one of the nurses that sedates Dylan. I did not know that, but now I do, and knowledge is power. Vontae says, I love how Heather is running to Dylan's room and the desperation music hits. Scores me. So it is. You're right. It's and I feel like that's something the music is, to me, is one of the most important things when it comes to filmmaking, because based on whatever music is playing during a scene, it can fill you with emotion and just different feelings, as how you perceive that particular scene that's happening in that moment. So yeah, music is always a big thing for me, and it helps me, like enjoy the movie a lot more, depending on if it fits with the scenes. And yeah, absolutely, I think that's why I love John Carpenter so much, because he not only was made his own films, but he composed a lot of the music for his films as well. So that's why he's my favorite director and composer.
Okay. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. Oh, well, I came back.
But Gory Tiger's in here. He was saying, "What's up?"
Hey, Gory Tiger.
There's another one of those puking scenes that you love.
That one's not too bad because it's like just a bunch of green junk, but it's like those ones where kind of put their hand over their mouth and it just comes out like a fountain or something. Those are kind of gross.
Did you ever feel like that was the scene with Dylan puking and it's all green and stuff? Do you ever feel like that was like a nod to The Exorcist?
Possibly, yeah, I could see that. And Batman said, Wes's daughter is one of the nurses that sedates Dylan.
Yeah, I read that a minute ago, and I did not know that. But like I said, now I do. I know that now. I never knew that before, though.
And Devontae was talking about the score of this movie being amazing. I agree.
So Batman there says Dr. Freddy, which that wasn't the first time we have seen Freddy as an actor. So he's also a one of the surgeons, I believe, in Nightmare 4.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm watching this again, we're talking about it and everything. I've noticed more and more and more like tributes and nods to past films and especially all the past Nightmare films, because if you looked at it in the beginning when it's showing the creation of the glove and everything, that's much like in the original. Then the scene coming up here with Julie, nod to the scene with Tina in the original, and just a lot of stuff. And then you see that like even the gray in Heather's hair is like how the gray comes into Nancy's hair in the original.
Devontae says, absolutely, I agree. As dark as it might sound, when music hits and Heather runs towards Dylan's room, the stakes are high and this isn't a joke, and Freddie could potentially end Dylan. Yeah, it walks a very fine line.
So in the scenario that you do get to meet Robert Englund at Horror Hound, and you do get the opportunity to get him to sign something, to autograph something, have you, just in case that does arise for you, have you made a decision on what you want to get autographed?
No, I haven't even thought that far ahead. I guess I'm so convinced that I'm not going to get that chance, but I probably should think about it.
I wouldn't just you may. I mean, depending on how everything plays out, they haven't put up any of that because I think they're still trying to iron that stuff out with Robert Englund's people for Horror Hound, but they've still not put anything up in regards to his the autograph session thing or his photo ops.
I've been looking every day.
I'm sure that they have to get that up here soon because it's less than 2 months before the convention. So I'd imagine they'll have that up here very soon, possibly by the end of this month. Now, is this lady that's like which one of these is supposed to be Wes Craven's daughter?
I bet it's the younger one.
I'm assuming. That's what I'm assuming. But because this lady that they're showing right here is talking to Julie is she's probably around Wes's age, actually.
Yeah, I'd say so at that time. I would punch that nurse too. I like this babysitter. I like Julie. She's probably one of my favorite characters in this film.
Yeah, they didn't establish a lot of stuff with her throughout the film. I mean, she's not in a lot of scenes, but I mean, they really kind of like gave her a personality here within this one. You know, it's because it's one of the big scenes, you know, in the film when it comes to not just in her, but you know, Freddie, and it's one of the ones that a lot of people remember, and in itself is a tribute to the original film. He's like, "You ever play Skin the Cat or something?" He says something like that.
Right, yeah, exactly. Devontae says, what makes this Freddy so scary is how physically imposing he is. In the behind the scenes, Wes said they added more muscles to Freddy in this movie. I think I remember Wes Craven saying that too.
Yeah, you can tell that too. It's almost kind of reminiscent to the Super Freddy in Nightmare 5.
Yeah.
I also really like, you know, how they're kind of the worlds start to blend together
Mm,
as it gets closer to the end of the film, because there is a scene with John Saxon where
yeah.
he calls her Nancy.
Yep. This is a very hair raising scene right here too.
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. And I never noticed this, but I don't know if it's just maybe, I don't know if the color's just off on I'm watching, but is Freddy's hat green?
It looked green.
I don't think I've ever noticed that before.
Devontae says, good point. It's like the entity went through the catalog of movies and picked out powers he needed to be victorious.
Right.
It really does the strongest powers from each of the films. Ever play Skin the Cat? I mean, these scenes are vicious. The one in the original is vicious, and this one's vicious as well.
Did you feel like this wasn't as graphic though as Tina? Because it felt like he was like more aggressive with,
Yeah, I think he was really digging the claws in on Tina.
because you know, in with Tina, she was like just kind of tossed around and everything. Like
Mhm.
it was a lot more violent. I believe. Even though this one was supposed to, they see Freddy in this one as supposed to be a more darker version of him, but
Mhm.
to this day I feel like the darkest version of Freddy was the original film's Freddy. Excuse me.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I think it's just because I love this film, but I have a certain loyalty, I guess it is, to the original
Mhm.
film. Um, and I just can't get let go of that loyalty. And I think that's
Yeah. Well, a lot of that has to do with just because if it weren't for that original film, then this film wouldn't even be a thing.
right. This has got to be hair raising for parents to watch too. How close to danger Dylan is.
Mhm. Which is also, this is kind of a kind of reminds you of Pet Cemetery as well, when you know Gage is out going out into the road
And Lewis is trying his best to get to him.
Yeah, exactly. It's like how she's trying to do.
Oh, this is and those cars and semis going around him. And they were protecting him, but I mean, it still looks very threatening.
I don't think he was actually there.
Probably not.
I think that was all of a green screen thing with where when he was. I mean, that is obviously where he's on Freddy's claw, but just the whole scene where as he's walking, I don't even think he was. They even filmed his part on a road or anything. That was just all probably like.
And I wonder if this stuff with these semi trucks was they put that in there because Miko Hughes was in Pet Cemetery.
And I don't know, but even if I'm not even sure if the stuff with Nancy like running on that road, if she was even there as well, like because there's like as I was looking at that there, if you see her, it kind of looks like there's a. It doesn't look like it's there. Like if there's something like she was like green screen.
Well, there were a whole bunch of Freddys. Ugh.
And when it was showing like Freddy up in like the clouds and all that, that also kind of reminds me of the scene in Dream Warriors when it's like Freddy
doing the puppet
did the puppet and like and it shows him up and he like swipes his claw and and it kills. I think the guy's name was like Philip or something in Dream Warriors.
Yeah, Bradley Gregg's character.
Yeah, Bradley Gregg's character. I believe it was his name was Philip.
I believe so. I think you're right. Batman says that the Cloud Freddy seemed a little cartoonish for me.
Yeah, a bit. I mean, but I think it's still pretty cool.
And Devontae said, I agree. It should have been more violent, but the fact that Freddy is willing to laugh while killing a babysitter in front of a kid shows how sick the entity is.
And that was, if I'm not mistaken, that's the only scene in the film where they kind of had a bit of humor blended in when he does the skin the cat thing.
Now that, yeah, sure line from John Saxon, I believe he says that in the original Nightmare on Elm Street. Doesn't he say, yeah, sure about something that's said to him? And I can't remember if Nancy said it or his ex-wife said it.
I'm not sure, honestly.
It's going to make me have to go back and watch Nightmare on Elm Street again. Devontae says, yes, he does. Okay. So I guess I was remembering something right. Okay, so this is where she says, why are you calling me Nancy, John?
Yeah, this is
why you call me John?
This is what I was talking about. Like, so it's like now the worlds are starting to blend together. Yeah. And then when he turns, he's got different clothes on, and he's in his character now.
He's like, I don't. Is she saying Robert Englund? And he's like, and then she said, the guy that plays Freddy Krueger. Freddy's dead. Yeah, Freddy was dead in the last movie before this one.
And it's almost like because where like I said, the worlds were starting to blend. Is like if everybody's like the two worlds were fusing together. You know what I mean? Like So John Saxon and Nancy's father are they like fusing the one. That's why when he turns and they show him again, he's wearing a different outfit, like his character's outfit from Nightmare on Elm Street. So it makes you wonder if Freddy and Robert Englund from the real world blended together, and that's why it can actually now be like that physical being that's there.
And maybe that's why Robert Englund's character or Robert Englund was acting so weird in some of those scenes because it was
Possibly.
starting to blur.
It's interesting how much you can interpret about this film, of what's actually going on. And now, as you see, Heather is in her pajamas as Nancy from the original film.
Mm-hmm.
So more and more of it starts to kind of like blend together.
And Batman says the scene where Freddy emerges from the sheet is badass. That is pretty cool. We're getting a lot of good conversation in the chat tonight about this movie, so I'm enjoying that. Devontae says, what's interesting is this is almost the true sequel to the first film. This is what would have happened if Freddy never died after leaving the bed. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say a little bit earlier. I may have not said it exactly right, but that Wes Craven doing the first film and doing the last film, they bookended each other. Oh, yeah, that's where he said, "Yeah, sure," on the original film. So she's going to be following these little yellow sleeping pills, just like following breadcrumbs. Did anybody else catch that?
The Hansel and Gretel thing, yeah.
And she even says breadcrumbs, Dylan.
So I guess I'm a little bit late in mentioning this, but the version that I'm watching is a Blu-ray rip of it. So I actually found this on the Internet Archive
Oh,
website.
you were able to find it there?
Yeah. So, and it's what it is like. It's listed under A Nightmare on Elm Street full franchise plus TV series. So you just go to that page, and it has
cool.
the first Nightmare on Elm Street through. Let's see what I was on here. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Freddy's Dead, New Nightmare. It's got the remake, and it's got every episode of Freddy's Nightmares.
I would watch all of that except the remake.
Oh, and it's also got all of these fan films on here too.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, Internet Archive is really awesome. They got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's good. Sometimes it's hard to find things though because the way that people have to put them on there so that they'll stay on there and not get taken down.
Yeah, yeah.
Devontae says it's almost like Freddy is rewriting the first movie. Like, nah, let's make this where I win this one. Yeah, if Freddy was left in charge, that's probably what he'd do.
But another interesting take on this movie is if it's not Freddy at all, and it's just like as Devontae keeps saying, like this entity, kind of like how in It, Pennywise is not really a clown. Pennywise is just this entity, like this alien that has taken on this form of a clown.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be much like what is happening here with this entity that has come into their world to torture Heather Langenkamp because of a film she was involved in, involving this killer Freddy.
Phantasm could be seen that way too, because if you watch all of the Phantasm films, actually the tall man was Jebediah Morningside.
Yep. And so that's another reason why the Phantasm movies are some of my favorites, because of as those movies go on. Like if you just see the first Phantasm film, I can see it as being confusing to a lot of people, but if you watch as the series goes on and they go more into like the backstory of the tall man's past and where he's from and all that, and how he took on that form, then it makes it a lot more interesting.
Yeah, I think that except for Ravager, I will always say
Yeah,
that movie depresses me on a lot of
I
levels.
I just I watched it one time, and now when I watch through the Phantasm series, I leave that one out because I
Yeah,
just feel like
I
it was.
have to. I have to.
I felt like it wasn't necessary. I
No,
feel like,
they waited too long. They waited too
well,
long.
I just feel like Phantasm 4 had an awesome ending.
That was a fitting ending to the series, I feel
Yeah,
like. It didn't need to go anywhere else from
no, it it didn't have any loose ends or anything, and I felt like it tied everything together perfectly. And if you understand how the Phantasm films work,
there. Right.
uh, so yeah, Ravager wasn't necessary.
Ravager made me sad.
Yeah.
Batman says another fave line's coming up. Pick a pet for the Rugrat, bitch.
Yeah.
Freddy gets all the great lines.
Yeah, and see, and here's the script again. Like I said, earlier, like this was all happening because Wes had written this script, which I don't know if that's why this stuff is actually happening, but it's just a theory. And at the end of this, when they get into like the fire pit or whatever it is, they go in that little room, that Dylan's trying to get away from Freddy. Um, I remember watching this for the first time with my dad, and um, when that gets to this thing, and like as Freddy's coming towards Dylan, and his mouth starts gaping open.
Oh, yeah.
I just remember my dad laughing because he was looking at me as that scene was happening, and like I was doing the same thing on. Because I was just freaked out by that because I was like, "Oh my god, what's he going to do? Is he going to eat him?"
Little Chris sitting there with his mouth dropping open.
Yeah,
My dad never that made me think of the slumber parties that I went to as a young girl, but my dad never really tried to scare us when we were watching horror movies. But I remember I had a friend named Shanda Gilliland, and every time we would go over to her house, a bunch of us girls would go over to her house, and they wouldn't let us watch the real scary stuff, but like they'd let us watch Jaws or something like that. And every time her dad was so funny, he would hide behind the couch or something, and we'd all be just staring at the TV, and all of a sudden he would jump up and go, ah! And we would just jump out of our skin and
that
like,
sounds like my dad. That's something he would do.
he still got them damn leather pants on. It's like Freddie got hip or something. Those leather pants. I know I keep talking about it, but it just seems so funny. I just never noticed it before. Maybe I should ask Robert England about that if I get a chance to talk to him. What was with those leather pants on New Nightmare? I probably won't say much. I'll probably just be in awe of the man when I finally get to meet him.
I feel like this is another tribute to the original, is like when Freddy has the big long arms as he's coming down the alley. And that as well is another tribute to the original.
Yeah.
There's her home as she's going, they're melting. Yeah, it's very parallel. So much is parallel with the original film in this.
Oh boy, here's gonna come the mouse scene.
Yeah, that's it.
Devontae says what's interesting is even though this entity isn't technically Freddy, as Wes said, Heather was the first to humiliate him. You can tell Freddy trying to shove Heather's face to a snake was personal.
Mm.
That's a beautiful snake, though. That looks like a ball python.
It's not beautiful to me.
You wouldn't want to come and hang around my snake either.
I'm not a snake person at all.
Steve's not really. He doesn't want to hurt them or anything, but
No, I don't want to hurt them. I don't.
he
I don't
just
want
doesn't
to.
want to touch them, handle them.
Yeah, I don't either.
But when I had to give shots to my snake early on, because the vet told me he had a slight respiratory infection, and we didn't want it to get any worse, so I had to give him shots under his scales, and so Steve had to hold it, or somebody had to hold Ash while I would, give him his shots. And Steve said, "Can we hurry up, please? He's moving, Dana. He's moving." I said, "Yes, I know him." But he never tried to bite or anything. He just tried to get away. He's got the snake tongue now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, have you ever noticed that, like, in this, where after Dylan stabs his tongue, it's like he's a serpent, like it's like a serpent tongue, or like even like
that looks like the devil or something
Yeah, when he's burning up, he like turns into the devil, and which is if you look at this, like like as we've been talking about, that it's not really Freddy this whole time. It
and
was
it
like,
could be the devil. It could be
or just some kind of demon, some demonic entity that came into the world that just used Freddy as its form.
Yeah, to destroy people.
Because as far as we know, I mean, this is only affecting Heather and her family and the people around her, like Julie, and Freddie wasn't targeting anybody else.
Right. It's kind of like in the later Jaws movies that the shark seems to be targeting Brody's family.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a whole nother thing. Like
we could go into some kind of rabbit hole with that.
Thanks for having this one. I always love that because you're like, huh. It's like, did Wes set up this whole thing? Let's see.
Yeah, it's almost like he was using all them to create this script.
Yeah.
You know, we need a shot of Wes Craven going, he's the puppet master.
Yeah, that'd be funny. Give me 1 second, now. I'll be right back.
Okay. So, guys and gals, I'm going to wait for Chris to get back. But we have reached the end of the movie. We're in the end credits. I hope that everybody has enjoyed rewatching this. I call it a classic. Rewatching Wes Craven's New Nightmare with us tonight. And I just want to remind everybody, too, if you are at all interested in either seeing A Clockwork Orange for the first time, if you don't mind us talking over it, or you want to rewatch it and hear our thoughts on it as we watch it. So I will be showing or doing a watch along rather. I won't be showing because I can't do that on YouTube. YouTube doesn't like that. But we will be watching Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And so I hope that I'm hoping that I'll have Chris and Candace on for the Clockwork Orange watch along.
I know Candace will be doing that with you, but I'm not sure what I'll be doing at the time. I know
Right.
there is some stuff I got to get together tomorrow because of Nick, which is probably going to take me all week to do it, but like I know I need to probably start tomorrow. Next Saturday, we over here at our flea market on the outside of it, we're doing another little collector like show thing.
Oh, cool.
We did that about a month or two ago. It was really fun. So he decided he's going to do another one. And so I'm going to be set up at that one again. I did really well the last one that I did. So I'm excited about it. So I'm trying to find some really good stuff to bring out for the show next week. Got a lot of stuff I really need to sell. So probably take some VHS tapes or something with me next week because I know we have, some people around here that do collect VHS. Not a lot, but so I'm not going to bring out a ton of stuff as far as related, but yeah, I'm not even sure. Like I'm because the last time we did it, like I brought out some stuff and I was not prepared at all because I just kind of took out whatever. But I actually ended up doing really well and sold quite a bit of it. So I'm telling the guy that's running, his name's Joey, and I said, so I said I'm going to try to bring out a lot better stuff next time when you have one of these. So yeah, that's next week, and I just kind of forgot about it until like I seen a post about it. I was like, oh crap! I was like, that is next week. I need to start getting my stuff together. But if anything changes, if I'm not during the time when you guys are doing that stream, yeah, I'll definitely join you guys.
Devontae says, I enjoyed my time with y'all. Have a good weekend. Well, you have a good weekend too,
Yeah.
Devontae, and come back anytime. I like having new people. I like having the people that have stuck around for a long time, but I like seeing new people in here as well. So that's always fun. But there's a gnat, fly, something flying around here. I think they like to get around my light that I have over my computer.
Well, yeah, I know all about that because we've had gnats and stuff in the past, and they're always like attracted to some kind of light, like especially like for some reason we have this like light above our sink in the bathroom.
Oh yeah.
and they always kind of like are drawn to that light in there for some reason.
And I think the brighter the light, the more it attracts them too. Batman says, good stream. Well, I better get going for McHale. Oh, man. That sucks, Batman, that you usually always got to work a night shift. You take care, and thank you for coming
Yeah,
by.
thanks for coming by, man.
We had a pretty good amount of people. There were like 7 or 8 at one time, but I did notice the Nightmare on Elm Street one we did. There'd been a lot of views on it afterwards, so people must have enjoyed that one. Hopefully, they'll enjoy this one too.
I wonder how late that McDonald's stays open that Super Batman Nerd works at, because also I don't know what time it is there where he lives, but like I want to say, like, you know, that seems kind of a late start for your shift to begin, like, because I know that the McDonald's around here in our area, they kind of close around like 11 or 12. So
That I think they do around here too. I think that's
maybe he works at those 24-hour ones or something.
I think he's still in here. So he says I took last night off because I was a little sick. I hate to hear that, Batman. I was feeling just completely wiped out last night, and Candace told me, Chris, you were wiped out after work as well.
Yeah. Super Batman Nerd, if you're still in here, is the McDonald's you work at, is it one of those 24-hour ones? Because I know I've been to those before.
I feel bad for him because a lot of times he says that he's, I'll be doing a stream and we'll be getting ready to get off here, and he'll be saying he's got to go to work. And
yeah,
he says open 24 hours Thursday.
Yeah, okay. Friday. Yeah, I've been to one of those before that they're, and especially if you're coming at, like, for traveling, or we went to like a convention or a concert or something like that, and then you're trying to you're struggling to find something that's still open after everything's done, and you're like, we gotta go find something to eat. And I can't remember where me and Candace were, but we did stop like after a convention or a concert or something, and found this McDonald's that was open 24 hours. So it's always good when you can find stuff like that. I know White Castle is like that too.
It's good for the common consumer, just not so good for the people that go
for the employees, right? Yeah, because that's how CJ, my brother-in-law CJ, he works at Walmart, and while our Walmart is no longer 24 hours, he still works on third shift, where he goes in at like 10 o'clock at night, and he works till like 7 in the morning when there's no customers in the store.
Right.
So all they're doing is just like stocking and and working on stuff around the store to present it for the next day.
It's not that I don't like people, but I told Steve I'm kind of wanting to, like, I hope my boss doesn't watch this or anything, but I'm kind of wanting to move away from like where I have to deal with the public, and something where I can work mostly on my own. I don't mind having coworkers, but sometimes the coworkers can drive you crazy. For the most part, I have good coworkers, but
well, you're working from home though, so I mean, it's. I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like you deal with kind of the same stuff, but at least you're not having to deal with them in person.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot worse dealing with them in person. You are correct on that. Because I've had to deal with people in person, and you can put yourself on mute or something when you're working from home, when you're on the phone with somebody. You can say, hold on a second, and you can go, you can talk back up. But when you're face to face with somebody, you can't really do that.
Well, no.
Because I tell you what, I have or when I get off a call with somebody, I'll hit up one of my coworkers and I'll say, "Hey, are you busy? Can I vent?" And we'll just sit there and vent back and forth until we feel better.
Well, it's like, 'cause my supervisor at my work, she's actually a really close friend of mine, and so before she was my supervisor, we were just regular coworkers, and that's how we became friends. And then, like a little bit into our job after our training and everything, she had to go into training again for supervisor training.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, it's like the best supervisor I've ever had, and
Yeah.
any job that I've ever had. And she'll do like these coaching things with us, of course. They'll put us on the schedule where they'll for like 30 minutes that she'll come in and like do individual coachings with
Right.
on her team. And so for just a little bit of that time in that coaching, she'll just like go over my stats and just stuff like that, just tell me how I'm doing and everything. And then for the rest of the time, usually she'll have the other people on her team just like take the rest of that time for themselves or whatever. But me and her will just like sit around like for the rest of it and just like talk about stuff like stuff we like. Cause she likes a lot of the same stuff like we like. She likes horror movies, and she's a big, huge Harry Potter fan, and she's got all these like Harry Potter tattoos and stuff on her, and she just likes all kinds of stuff like that. So and then or we'll just she's close friends with Candace, and her
Right.
kids are close friends with Noah and everything, and so we will talk about that kind of stuff too. And me and her the other day were just kind of venting back and forth about the pavilion here in Hazard, uh,
Mm-hmm.
because me, Candace, and the boys went a few days ago to the pavilion after I had gotten off work. And the pavilion, we were going to go swimming in the pool there, and the pavilion closes, like the pool closes at 7:30.
Mm-hmm.
We got there at like 6, and we maybe swam for a total of like 20 minutes between from 6 to 7:30,
Yeah.
because when we got there it was like we were in there maybe about 10 to 15 minutes, and then the lifeguard guys like, okay, break, and then they're only supposed to have a break for like 10 minutes
Mm-hmm.
before they come back and let everybody get back in the pool again. That guy was gone for over 30 minutes.
Oops.
And then when he came back, he like told us to get in the pool, and we maybe weren't in there for another 5 minutes before he said, okay, pool's closing. So
Mm-hmm.
I was venting about that to my supervisor, Jess. I was like, have you ever had any kind of issues with the pavilion? And basically I said everything for her that she was going to say, because apparently her and her kids and her sisters and her sister's kids had that same experience.
Mm-hmm.
And she said her sister refuses to even return to the pavilion because of the way and my supervisor said that she has even called um City Hall and whoever she can to say, hey, you guys need to start handling this stuff better at the pavilion, because these workers are taking advantage of their time and our time. So yeah.
Yeah.
But me and her will just kind of BS about a lot of stuff like that. So it's always good to have, coworkers or even people that are over you at work that you
Oh
can
yeah.
that you can get along with.
I used to my manager. I had a supervisor at the library when I was in IT. I had a direct supervisor, but then we had a manager over computer services, and that was
Hmm.
Greg. And sometimes I would get in there and I would be asking Greg about something I needed clarification on. And he'd be like, "Hey, you want to see my pictures from my vacation? Or you want pictures from when I was a kid and I traveled all these different places?" And I would get stuck in there for 30, 45 minutes, sometimes almost an hour. And I loved talking to him because he was an interesting person, but I finally would have to say, "Hey, Greg, I guess I better get back there and do some more work." He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll see you later." But he did that several times. I mean, he was a good guy. You had to learn how to
Mhm.
take him though, because I was a bit taken aback by it at first because he uses sarcasm a lot, but that's just Greg. That's just the way he is, and you just have to throw it right back at him,
I,
and it's fine,
yeah,
at least
I have had people like that I've worked with in the past too, and it can be kind of off putting in the beginning.
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
but the more you learn about them and learn that that's how they are, you
Mhm.
can't take it so seriously into heart. Um,
Nah, like one time after I figured out how he was, he said, or I talked about making biscuits, like homemade biscuits, and this is gonna be a Steve story too. And I made, I put honey and butter on them, and I was talking about how good they were.
mhm.
I said, but I said, Steve don't like them. And Greg looked at me. He said, well, why do you make them then? And I said, because I like them, Greg. He said, oh, all right. But some people could have took that the wrong way, and I was just like, because I wanted them, Greg. That's why I made them. That's why I baked these biscuits, you know.
Yeah,
But
we all have a Greg at our jobs most of the time.
But I think probably one of the best bosses I ever had was at the library system here in Louisville, and it was my first library job when I was working at the Fern Creek Library. Brian Reynolds. If it, if you want to
You say
know,
Brian Reynolds or
yeah,
Ryan Reynolds?
Brian with a B.
Okay,
Brian Reynolds, yeah, that would be awesome.
that would be awesome.
Have Mr. Deadpool as your boss. But anyway, no, Brian Reynolds with a B. But he was so great. He was very protective of his staff,
Hmm.
and he didn't let anybody talk bad to us. Like I told him one time that another person at another library talked down to me at one of the other branches. He said, like, oh no, we can't have that. Who was it? And we had a guy too, a patron that came in the library, and he was sitting there looking at a computer or whatever, and all of a sudden he jumps up and comes to the circulation desk and talks to Tanya, one of my coworkers, and he wanted to know what her name was and what my name was and what our supervisor's name was, and the supervisor over him, because he said we were being too loud and keeping him from studying. And after he left, he just picked up his stuff and left. And after he left, one of the other patrons looked over at me and Tanya, and he said, y'all wasn't doing nothing wrong. He said he was being louder than you guys were. So Brian told us, don't worry about it. We told Brian we were worried about it. He said, He said, don't worry about it. So,
The guy
you
must
know,
have been taking stuff too seriously.
I
Like
don't know what the problem was.
like you see in the like movies and TV and stuff, and they're
Yeah.
in the library, and they'll have like a library, and even if they just talk above a whisper, they're like, "Shh,
Yeah.
no talking in the library" or something.
All I was doing was going around in the stacks and showing people where to find the books that they needed and stuff like that. But this guy said me and Tanya were screaming at each other across the room and all kinds of stuff. We weren't doing any such thing. That guy must have been
Wow,
delusional or something.
sounds like it.
But but I guess, Chris, is there anything that you want to bring up before we get off of here for the night?
Um, I can't really think of anything right now, Dana.
Okay. Well, I just always like to give people opportunity to bring up anything or promote anything that they want to
Mhm.
promote. And um, So I guess we'll tie this all up with a neat bow and then get off here for the night. This is early for
Yeah.
us. I never run out of things to say usually. But
Yeah, me either. I don't know if it's just where I've just been tired today or
we're probably just tired from yesterday, I bet.
yeah.
Still yet. That's probably the issue. But I did want to remind everybody too, again, about the watch along for Clockwork Orange tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I know me and Candace will be on here unless something happens. I hope nothing happens. And it could be possible that Chris could pop on here. I'm not going to say that he
Yeah, hope.
won't. Thank you, Candace. Candace has probably been sitting there diligently watching this whole thing. She's really good about that. She's one of our biggest supporters, and she's married to one of the people that's on here. So, and it's not me. So, so anyway, I just want to remind everybody about that. And me and Chris are off like a dirty shirt. But before we go, we want to remind everybody, as always, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. And y'all have a fantastic rest of your Saturday. And let's make Sunday great, because if we don't, we're going to be going into Monday, the beginning of a work week, and we're going to be feeling like, yeah, you know. So let's make Sunday fantastic as well. So we're out of here for the night. I do want to thank Chris for being on here with me for Wes
Absolutely.
Craven's New Nightmare. And y'all take care, and we'll see everybody next time.
Bye, everybody.